Grayson, Sophie Cunningham. Definitely, I look like she might be leaving now. I think this is so dope that she came to practice today. Now, Chloe Peterson.
At a recent Indiana Fever practice, Cheryl Miller was spotted actively leading drills, and her commanding presence instantly signaled that something significant is unfolding behind the scenes. This is the same iconic figure many fans have passionately called to take over as head coach ever since Christy Sides was dismissed, and now she's not just being discussed online, she's physically in the gym, working closely with players. Which raises serious questions about the team's direction and future leadership, making the entire situation feel unexpected, dramatic, and impossible to ignore.
Chloe Peterson, look, see what she pulled up. So practice has been underway for about an hour now.
According to Chloe Peterson, who closely covers the Indiana Fever, Cheryl Miller is not just making a quick appearance at training camp but is fully involved in the team's daily work, actively coaching alongside Stephanie White, signaling that her presence is serious and potentially impactful rather than symbolic. And just as this behind-the-scenes development unfolds, the spotlight on the franchise is set to explode, with the Fever announcing an unprecedented 44 nationally televised games for the 2025 WNBA season, more than any other team in the league, meaning every game will air on major networks, dramatically raising expectations and placing immense, almost historic pressure on the coaching staff to deliver results under constant national attention.
Bro, it don't even look like Stephanie White's coaching, bro. I just gotta be honest, dog. Every time I see her in a clip, she always just damn me standing there. What the hell she standing there for? She need to be coaching, dog. I just gotta be honest. It's always her standing around, not doing nothing. Am I the only one that has been noticing that? Because that's what it's definitely looking like. A whole lot of Stephanie White.
In the latest Indiana Fever practice footage, Stephanie White appears mostly on the sidelines, arms folded and carefully observing the action, while Cheryl Miller takes a far more hands-on role, directing drills, demonstrating techniques, and engaging intensely with players on the court, creating a striking visual contrast that's hard to overlook. While this doesn't necessarily mean White isn't actively coaching behind the scenes, the optics tell a different story, especially after months of fans pushing for Miller to take over as head coach, and now seeing her step into what looks like the lead coaching role in practice while the official head coach remains more reserved on the sidelines raises questions, fuels speculation, and puts the team in a potentially awkward spotlight where perception could quickly become as impactful as reality.
But it's a point of emphasis for us, you know, it's the way we want to play. We want to be super disruptive. We have some new faces, so our system is a little different than what they're used to. So we just want to start camp setting the tone with our points of emphasis from the start. So that's all that was.
It's one of those points of emphasis, kind of the physicality and getting them trained to kind of just get after and get into players.
100%. We want to be really aggressive. Like I said, we want to disrupt, and part of that is being up and in on the players. We know the refs will probably call it early, but it's easier to...
Next voice, next voice. There's real excitement building, but it's important to understand exactly what Stephanie White has stepped into with the Indiana Fever, because this isn't a rebuilding project. This is a team that already proved it can compete at the highest level, returning a core that includes Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and Lexi Hull, the same group that made a deep run to the WNBA Finals last season. So while White has emphasized a more disruptive defensive identity and increased physicality, the reality is this roster doesn't need to be reinvented from scratch, especially with Clark coming off a strong stretch with USA Basketball where she performed at an elite level and Boston now fully healthy after last year's injury setbacks, meaning the focus shouldn't be on overhauling the system but on fine-tuning what already works, sharpening execution, and maximizing the strengths of a team that's already close to championship form.
I'm excited to get them going on D.
What was kind of your reaction during the free agent process as you're saying, hey, we've been wanting to do this, now maybe we can do more of that?
Yeah, you know, with with Mo, with KK coming along, you know, in addition to AB, we have a group of great communicators and active defenders at the post position, and that really helps our guards out. That's huge because
And this is exactly where things start to get a little complicated for the Indiana Fever, because while Cheryl Miller brings undeniable credibility and one of the sharpest basketball minds in the game, her actual coaching resume at the professional level raises fair questions. As her head coaching experience dates back to her time at USC Trojans women's basketball from 1993 to 1995, where she posted a 42-14 record before transitioning into a long and successful broadcasting career, meaning she has spent decades analyzing the game rather than coaching it on the sidelines at the WNBA level. So now, with her visibly active role in training camp, the uncertainty isn't about her knowledge but about her title and authority within the current structure, whether she's functioning as an assistant, a temporary consultant, or simply a specialist brought in to elevate camp intensity. And the fact that the organization hasn't clearly defined that role only adds to the intrigue, leaving fans and observers trying to interpret what her presence truly means for the team's leadership dynamic moving forward.
Retired players, but you know, these ladies deserved it. They work their butt off. They are pros. They show up. They deserve all of this, and I'm excited they've got to go.
With New York is, oh, go ahead, Tony.
New York is loaded now.
Oh, yeah.
So have you guys start looking at them already? What do you feel like the challenges are?
You know, I think it's important for this first block of practices to really focus on us and put in what we need to move forward. And then as we move forward, then you start looking at our opponents. But
Next voice. When Jenny Jensen, an assistant with the Indiana Fever, broke down the team's defensive mindset, she highlighted a bold strategy of starting games with high aggression, fully expecting referees to call things tightly before adjusting on the fly, which reflects a calculated and experienced approach. And her comments about Kelsey Mitchell, admitting she knew it was time to retire after having to guard her, show genuine respect rooted in first-hand experience, reinforcing that Jensen understands the league and the demands at this level, while also bringing valuable continuity within the organization. However, this is where the bigger question begins to surface, because with such a knowledgeable staff around her, it's becoming harder to clearly identify whether Stephanie White is truly driving the team's key decisions or primarily overseeing a group of strong voice.
Practice and how much you've been trying to install and see how new stuff works.
well, we're doing a little bit of both. We've made some tweaks and we put them in, and so that'll be a time to kind of show a little bit. You don't want to show your whole hand, but for our team to really look at our lineups, who plays well together, what we can do with certain players, I think those are the things we're looking at most. Just kind of getting a feel of the team that we have under some pressure against another opponent.
We talked about consistency with the core, but
Within the Indiana Fever camp, assistant January Jensen has pointed out that Johnson is already showing strong defensive instincts, asking questions, staying engaged, and proving she has both the physical tools and mindset to become a key piece on that end of the floor. But talent alone isn't enough, because real development demands structure, repetition, and detailed coaching. The exact kind of hands-on intensity that Cheryl Miller has been visibly bringing during practice. Yet this is where the situation starts to feel bigger than just player growth, as the Fever head into a season with unprecedented attention, including 44 nationally televised games across the WNBA, meaning every drill, rotation, and sideline reaction will be dissected, especially with Caitlin Clark driving massive viewership and expectations that go far beyond normal, placing immense pressure on Stephanie White, who was brought in as the long-term solution after Christy Sides led the team to the WNBA Finals in 2024, but was still let go, signaling that simply competing isn't enough and that a championship is the only acceptable outcome. However, the challenge for White isn't just winning games, it's establishing clear authority in a crowded coaching environment where Miller's presence naturally commands attention, raising questions about leadership hierarchy, especially when fans had openly pushed for Miller to take the head coaching role in the first place, and that uncertainty trickles down to players like Clark, who now faces yet another coaching transition early in her career under the guidance of executive Kelly Kroskoff, while stars like Kelsey Mitchell enter crucial contract moments and Aaliyah Boston continues her development as a potential franchise cornerstone, all of which makes clarity in coaching roles absolutely essential, because when multiple strong voices, from Jensen's defensive schemes to Miller's player development to White's overall system, start overlapping without a clear